Hi, my name is Haley Pinkham, and I'm here to interview you about your new English career because you are the new teacher in Biddeford High School. So why don't you start off and tell us about yourself?
Sure. My name is Veronica Foster. I am the new English teacher at Biddeford High School. I actually grew up in Saco and went to school at Colby, and then I just got back from spending 2 delightful years in North Carolina where I taught high school. So I'm very happy to be home.
All right, so you have taught here in schools before. This
Yes.
isn't your first time.
No, no, this is my 3rd year.
So what made you come to Biddeford?
It's weird. I applied to pretty much every job opening in Southern Maine, but I knew that I wanted to work at Biddeford when I walked into my interview for the first time, and there were students there interviewing. I went on 5 interviews before that, and there hadn't been any kids, and I was so excited that students got to say that when they called me back. I was like, yes, absolutely. It was great.
So how do you feel about here so far? It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's been really good. Kids are hysterical and awesome. I'm sort of figuring things out as I go, but yeah, so far it's been really great.
All right.
Yeah.
Why did you want to become an English teacher? What made you like, oh, English teacher?
Of course. Mostly because I love to read more than I love to do anything else, and so the list of careers where all you do is read is relatively short. In college, I spent a ton of time in local schools doing a bunch of different things, like teaching poetry and helping out creative writing groups and all that stuff, and I loved it. And so I got to my senior year of college, and I was either going to go to grad school and become a professor for English, or I was going to go teach high school, and ultimately it was really important for me to be in Maine, because Maine is my favorite place ever, / the best place in the world. And it would be harder for me to be a professor in Maine, so I went to high school, and I'm so glad, because I don't know that I could teach college kids now. I don't think it would be as fun.
Yeah. So you said you love Maine. Have you ever, did you ever anywhere else?
Yes, so I went to school here,
Yep.
but I just spent obviously the last 2 years in the South, which is sort of like an entirely different planet, where people eat grits and say cuss instead of swear, and it's very confusing all of the time, and it was great. I totally loved my kids, but I knew from day one that I was going to be back in Maine, because this is where I belong.
So what would you say you like teaching in English? Maybe the little mini subjects. What would you say is your favorite thing to teach?
I think I really love teaching writing. When I was in college, I was a tutor in my writer center, and it was the best job ever. So I would just sit in my writer center and drink free coffee, and people would come in with their papers, and we would just talk about them and make them better. It was great. And that's actually when I was thinking about going to grad school, that's what I would have gone for, was composition. So I really do love writing. I think the process of talking over what people have created is so interesting. I was also a women's studies major as well as my English, so I also am I super love women authors and hearing about viewpoints that we often sort of skip over when we were talking about the canon. So minority voices, LGBT voices, stuff like that. So those are the things that make me excited to teach. Yep.
What would you say is you don't have that much fun teaching?
Grammar. I don't actually know any teachers who are yes, I get to teach grammar today. This is awesome.
Probably the teachers that don't teach English are probably yeah, grammar.
Oh yeah, you should
Spanish and them.
Yeah.
They also have the grammar fundamentals.
Yeah, and I feel for some reason when you're learning a different language, it doesn't seem as irritating, but I think
it's better to learn English first, our main language, to learn the basics of how to do grammar, and then...
Yeah. The other thing, I truly believe that the best way to learn grammar and spelling and vocab and all of those sort of fundamental things is to read a ton. So I hate taking class time, and I do because I have to, but I hate taking class time to do things like grammar when I really just think that you should be reading more, and then you will understand grammar better, but
yep,
that's where I'm at.
What books would you like? What are your favorite books to teach?
I'm really enjoying the preschool right now. This is the first time I've taught it, and it's super fun because we're like reading it out loud. So I'm enjoying it way more doing that than I did when I read it myself or when I read it in high school. And the past 2 years I taught Like Water for Chocolate, which is a magical realism novel that is a little racy, and I don't think I can actually teach it, but it's really awesome and you should read it. That was really fun to teach because it has lots of different things that you can talk about in connection with like the main story.
So I guess opposite of that question, which one do you have to drag your students through? Which books that they, or you have to read?
My first year, I had them read Never Let Me Go, which is still one of my favorite books. It's like this dystopian novel with like this really crazy twist that I will not reveal. But they were not into it at all, and it was a struggle. I might give it to my honors kids as a choice when we're doing our dystopian stuff, but for the level that I was teaching at that point, it was not great.
So how would you handle a situation in which you had troublesome students in your class?
It depends on the student, honestly. This is feeling very much like my job interview also. This is really funny. It depends on the student. I think relationships are really important to me. My first year, I tried to be like the really authoritative, like, you will do as I say type of teacher, and they just like laughed at me because I'm not that person. I couldn't do it authentically. So it's more important to me that I'm like trying to build relationships with kids, and that those relationships are generally what push us past like the craziness that sort of happens in the beginning. I don't know, different kids need different things, so it depends.
Yeah. About every class.
Yeah, so I could be teaching the same exact lesson and it will go just 2 totally different ways depending on the group of kids, which is both fun and terrifying. Yeah.
I can agree.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I've seen.
You're like, oh no. And you gotta, I mean, that's frustrating as a teacher certainly, but like I've never had a student who like did those things where they were just like doing it to be annoying, where there wasn't like some other story happening. So I think I have learned to be more patient with them and with me, because like I'm still learning. I have not been doing this that long.
Yep.
Hear me in my words. So I'm still learning too. So I try to be as patient as I can with my kids, because I know that they have whole entire lives that I don't know. And I try to be patient with myself too, because sometimes I feel like I'm not doing a great job, but I know that I'm trying really hard.
It'll probably also depend on what grade is being taught as well. Like you can teach a little, they're going to act out.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd expect with high schoolers, not so much, but it happens.
It does. Yep, and that's the nature of the beast. Totally okay.
Talk about your hobbies. Like, what do you do maybe outside?
Besides grading.
Besides grading.
I really love to cook. I have always been like a huge food nerd, so I like watch food TV and I read Bon Appetit and do all those things. And I spend all my money on restaurants, but then I didn't have any money, so I learned how to cook. So I pride myself in making some pretty spectacular food on a daily basis. And I don't know, I play a lot of cribbage. I'm basically your like 80-year-old aunt is who I am.
So what type of food, like give us like maybe some examples of something you'll make.
So we made really delicious tuna tacos last week with like a homemade mango salsa. That was pretty delicious. Tonight we are doing ginger scallion noodle bowls with roasted cauliflower and quick pickles.
I have not heard of any of these foods.
They're delicious, all of them. Yeah, I don't know, I can't eat boring food, it makes me sad.
Yeah. So what would you say maybe like you go out to movies, or I know you read, so you're reading.
Bookstores?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a hard time committing to movies. It feels like an emotional commitment that I'm not willing to make. For some reason, books, I don't feel that way. I will only watch TV shows that don't demand any emotional response from me, because I don't have any left. So I watch like a lot of like comedies. I don't know, I have a dog that we take to the park, I go visit my parents, I go to the beach, we go camping.
What kind of dog?
Best dog. She is half golden retriever, half black lab.
Oh, so big dog.
Big and really pretty and snuggly. Her name's Rigby, and I love her.
Do you watch TV like I know you watch probably food and comedies. Like give us an example of maybe a show that you think.
Psych. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have not seen that one.
Really funny. I don't know why I find it so enjoyable, but I do. I've been watching Firefly and I'm like halfway through, but
Heard that's good.
it's really good. I was watching a lot of Doctor Who last year, but I always have to stop because then I get like emotionally involved, and then I can't do it anymore.
So
So
you know a lot of the things that students know, so you're not like, that 80-year-old person you were just describing. You're like,
I'm like your 80-year-old aunt who also watches the celebrity
your mom,
gossip channel. Yes.
So you said you're good at cribbage.
Yes.
Maybe explain that to people who maybe don't know what that is?
Cribbage is an old person game that my dad taught me when I was really little, and I used to play with him every night. It's like a board game where you count to 15 and move your pegs around. It's really great. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty relaxing.
Ever thought of bringing that into the classroom sometime?
Cribbage?
Or anything that you're interested in? Like maybe food?
Oh.
Bring in something? Last day, for instance?
Yeah. I occasionally bring in food, for sure. I don't know. The awesome thing about teaching English is that I get to talk about all the things I care about on a daily basis. Like not just like books, but also social justice issues that I really care about, or what's in the news. Like it's always, there's a way to make it relevant, so I actually feel really lucky that way.
Well, did you want to do any of that now? Anything you're really like inspired or passionate about right now that's going on?
I have been following like the Ray Rice things pretty closely, and we haven't talked about that in class yet. We did yesterday in my honors class, we read this short story called The Ones Who Walk Away from Homilies, and it's really disturbing. I highly recommend it, but we got into a big discussion on like the ethics of wearing clothes that we think might have been made in like factories by children. Better to just not know about it or ignore it, or is it, better to know and just be okay with it? So the ethics around that, about the way that we treat people who are like begging on the side of the road and the assumptions that we have about them. So that was kind of a cool conversation. We're talking about like the power of fear right now in the crucible. And
yeah.
So the idea that
Mass
hysteria, yeah, like the idea that, when you are afraid, you hand over your power to people that maybe don't have your best interests in mind, and why that happens, and sort of making connections between the crucible and these other historical events, which has been pretty cool. So
you can talk about everything in it. Everything is relevant to English.
I can find a way somehow. If you're reading, then it's working.
So I guess the latest thing in Biddeford has been a couple fires that have been going on, and that's actually kind of rare for Biddeford, somewhat. And have you heard anything about that?
I haven't. I actually live in Portland. We had a fire in my street in Portland a couple weeks ago, but I hadn't heard about.
Like five, I think two in Biddeford. I think one just in Lewiston. They've only caught like one of the guys.
Someone's setting fires.
Arson, yes.
In like residential homes?
I believe, yeah. I think it was right down Main Street. Like
wow.
The warehouses down there.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
So there's like a fire bug.
And they've only caught one person. The other one they suspect, but they're not letting out any information.
I had not heard that.
That's something you can tell your English people.
Hey kids, guess what?
There's fires going on. They probably already know that.
I'm sure that they know. I am much better at like national and international news than I am with local news, which is not great.
Takes on ISIS.
Did you watch last week tonight? I'm thinking of it because he did this whole like spiel about Miss America and how ridiculous it is that they give them 20 seconds to answer these ridiculous questions. So like one of the questions in the one that they just had was like, ISIS has now beheaded 2 journalists and is threatening more. What should the U.S.'s response to this terrorism be? And then you have 20 seconds to answer this like incredibly complex question, which is totally against the point. I'm not totally sure. I am pretty nervous about getting into another war, especially that since we've been trying to get out of one for so long. I'm not sure where the division is between like what's our moral imperative to like help people who are clearly suffering versus we can't be everyone's police officers. So I don't know. I think it's a hugely complex issue that people smarter than me seem to be struggling with, so I don't know.
It might be World War III at this point. I mean, we're doing airstrikes, so I mean, we're involved now.
We are. But I mean, we are involved in a lot of conflicts around the globe, even ones that have not gotten press, like Iraq and Afghanistan. We are known for sort of being the first ones you call if you want to bomb someone, so that's great. Good stuff, America.
Yeah.
But